these clouds can very easily be carried over. But in general, understand that jet streams do not allow the mixing of air between different latitudes. They do not allow the mixing of air. Okay? Jets do not allow mixing of air between different latitudes. How and why? For example, if I were to give you a cross-sectional representation of jet stream, let's suppose I talk about somewhere 45-degree north. Let's suppose I talk about somewhere 20-degree north. Now, in between them, you have this air or the movement of jet stream. Let's suppose this is a cross-sectional representation of the jet stream. Okay, so this jet stream will be created due to the difference in air temperature in between these areas. That is where these jet streams will come into existence. And also when you talk about these jet streams, this will have a kind of an air column associated here. Right? So the air from this region can never encounter or never have a kind of a sneaking through between these areas and reach here, and vice versa is also not possible. Now you can have a kind of a question that why is it that it is not possible that air can at least move here? So imagine a condition of a traffic jam. I'm sure all of you in many of the cases would have created traffic jams, in many of the cases would have been stuck in traffic jams in your life. So when you have a traffic jam, take that analogy. So suppose you have a traffic light somewhere here. Okay, suppose you have a traffic light somewhere here. Now the jam is created up till this portion, right? Let's suppose the jam is created up till this particular portion and this particular region. Now, if let's suppose you are an individual in a vehicle somewhere here, let's suppose you are an individual in a vehicle somewhere here. Now, would you be able to move even up till here as long as the jam is there? No, obviously you won't be able to move, right? Why? Because obviously there is a prolonged traffic jam which is there, right? Similarly, unless and until all this wind ends up moving, unless and until this traffic light gets cleared here, this traffic light gets cleared, so then everything will move, then you will also get a chance to move. Similarly, here, as long as the jet stream moves over an area, the air will start acting like a kind of imposing a traffic jam. So that air won't be able to cross over from one region to another, won't allow the crossing over of the air as well. So the air in this portion gets limited into this area itself. The air in this portion gets limited to this area itself. So wherever you have jet streams, the cross circulation of the air is something which is not allowed. So they play a key role in determining the weather because they separate colder air and warmer air. Okay. So there, basically, no mixing of air. Between different regions. Okay, in between different areas. So there is no mixing. So as a consequence, an area might get very hot. An area might get over a period of time might get increasingly hot. So when a region gets hot, there is a low pressure created, winds from the surrounding regions come, there's a rise of wind, and it causes rainfall, provides a relief. But imagine in this circumstance, here, if you have a jet stream, let's suppose this region starts getting hotter. Now you will have the creation of the low pressure in this area because of getting hotter. But winds from the surrounding area won't be able to come to the rescue here because the jet streams will blockade it. So even if the air rises, let's suppose some individual air becomes rebellious and says that no, we will rise. So even after that, that particular air will be impacted by the jet stream, will get reflected back. And you have the sinking air in this region. So sinking air, does it create heating or does it create cooling? What do you think? Sinking air, does it create heating or cooling? Okay. Let me ask this question again. Sinking air, will it get compressed? Will it get expanded? It will get compressed. Compression creates heating or cooling? Good. Compression creates heating. So that is where, as the air gets reflected back by these jet streams, it will get further heated up. This will further intensify or will further heat up this region. It will then get heated up more, but as long as the jet stream prevails in that area, there will not be any change in temperature here, or there will not be any relief here. Now, here you might have an immediate question that if there is a low pressure, why will the jet stream exist in that region? Why can't the jet stream simply move over that area? Because the jet stream is not a localized phenomena. It is not that the jet stream here in Delhi is very nice, the jet stream over Chandigarh is very crooked and wicked, jet stream over the region of Lucknow is again well behaved. Jet streams, they exist for thousands of kilometers. So let's imagine that of a river. When you have a river movement, let's suppose, if there is some disturbance here, does not mean the river will change its entire course like this. The river will continue to flow over this place. So like that, similarly, these jet streams are a continuous phenomena. So in a region, let's suppose there is incredible heating, that region will continue to suffer as long as in the entire portion of thousands of kilometers, that jet stream is a reality. This will continue to get heated. Okay, so this creates prolonged heat waves. This ends up creating prolonged heat waves. Because it will not allow any kind of relief to happen. And again, understand this. This is something that what we also refer to as a heat dome. In the case of Canada and Europe, this is the reason why the region of Canada and Europe have been suffering from incredible amount of heat waves for the past 5 years on an average. So when you have these jet streams, so even if this region gets heated up, the air, even now, the air from this region cannot come in. The air from this region cannot come into the rescue, because ideally, if you have a low pressure in an area, air rushes in, rises up, forms the clouds provide rainfall, and everybody goes happily to sleep, right? But in this region, when you have the jets, the jet stream, so even if the air rises up, it cannot go any further. It will be further pushed down, and that will further continue to heat up, and that creates what we refer to as the heat wave phenomena, where the temperature keeps on rising significantly and keeps on increasing quite significantly. So this is the reason for heat waves in the region of Canada, in the region of Europe, and last year even in the case of northern portion of India. So this is over Canada, and or rather Canadian and European heat waves or heat domes. This is also the reason why, as the polar jet was very persistent, even in the region of Siberia, which generally experiences very low temperature, in the region of Siberia, you experienced a temperature of around 45 degrees plus. Okay? That is the aspect of this jet stream. Now, this is a question. The PYQ guys, where is Harpreet, who was asking for PYQs? Okay, so now we have the PYQ. So take a look at this question and let us solve this particular question. So consider the following statements. So jet streams occur in the northern hemisphere only. Only some cyclones develop an eye. The temperature in the eye of the cyclone is nearly 10 degrees Celsius, lesser than the surroundings. Think about it. Good, Shiva. Manikandan, Garvit, Pula, Vivek. Good. Ananya, Akshita. Good. So good. Majority of you have given the correct answer. So jet streams occur in northern hemisphere only? Absolutely not. They will be occurring even in the case of the southern hemisphere. Then only some cyclones develop an eye. That is correct. We have seen that tropical cyclones will develop an eye, temperate cyclones. They sometimes will develop, sometimes won't develop an eye. And the temperature inside the eye of the cyclone is nearly 10 degrees Celsius, lesser than the surrounding, which is not the case. The temperature in the eye of the cyclone is going to be higher. How much higher? It varies. So here, understand, this is another trick that UPSC has got up its armor. Yesterday, we had seen with the help of the two PYQs that how UPSC will play a trick by just replacing one word out there, and you will get confused in the entirety. Here, this is another trick that UPSC plays. That is to indulge you in the data pointers. Okay? So when you get indulged in those data pointers, when you get trapped in those data pointers, your entire attention is towards the data pointers itself. What do I mean by that? So for example, here the jet stream, the question could simply have been that the temperature in the eye of the cyclone is lesser than the surrounding. It would have been easier for you to catch the mistake in this. But the moment UPSC mentions 10 degrees C lesser, that is where you get an idea that, okay, it might not be 10 degrees Celsius. Is it 5 degrees Celsius? Is it 15 degrees Celsius? Is it 8 degrees Celsius? Maybe my friends would have studied it. The book that I have studied, that did not mention it. So there is a kind of a feeling of betrayal. But this is the entire purpose of using that data. Once you use that data, you tend to believe that statement. If I tell you the rate of literacy in India has gone up, you might believe me, you might not believe me. But if I tell you the rate of literacy in India has gone up by 67%, you will definitely believe me that he is indicating some data. So it might not be 67, it might be 65 or 70. So never get misled by this another trick. This is something that UPSC will use at its arsenal, even in the case of the other subjects in the portion of current affairs. So please pay significant amount of attention in this. Okay, so that is all that I can tell you in the case of the trappings of UPSC. Horse latitudes have jet streams, yes. I region is calm, yes. And Ananya, I had BA Honors Geography, but today is the first time I understood jet streams. Okay. So, see, once you keep it simple, you will be able to understand it. In Google, it shows correct. It is correct. What is correct in Google? That the eye is colder? No. Extratropical cyclones will sometimes not have an eye. Okay? Extratropical cyclones sometimes will not have an eye. When we experience jet streams over India, their direction is west to east. At the same time, if we experience trade winds moving over India, their direction will be east to west. So, what will happen to the direction after the collision of the jet streams and the trade winds? Okay. So, here, understand. Trade winds are moving at the surface. Jet streams are moving at the upper atmosphere. Will there be a collision which will happen? No. So, no collision happens. Okay? As simple as that. So, now we come over to one of the most complex topics out there in the entirety of climatology, where the scientists have taken many years to understand that. And this is where now we have some fair amount of understanding, but still more researches are being carried out. That is India's climate, and that is what we study, and we will study here about the monsoon phenomena. More complex, yes. So here you will be required to put the application of all the various aspects that you have covered till now in climatology. So when we talk about the various aspects of climatology and even certain aspects of geomorphology, all of them are at play. And trust me, even as late as November last year, there was a fresh research paper which was filed by the Research Institute in Pune, which talks about a correlation which has been established between the region of the North Atlantic closer to the poles and the amount of rainfall received in India. So that is how and how do we predict the monsoon is basically with the help of supercomputers. I hope we are aware of that we have certain supercomputers in which we feed the data, and we feed the data and all the details we feed, that what is the temperature in northern Pacific, central Pacific, southern Pacific, what is the temperature in eastern coast of India, western coast of India, what is the temperature in Atlantic, etc. So a few years back, almost a decade back, what happened was that while feeding the data, one decimal pointer, that is the third decimal pointer, eventually was incorrectly fed, and the output which was generated by the supercomputer, that varied to indicate that it will be a drought year, whereas it was a surplus rainfall year. So imagine that in one place of the planet, even if the temperature varies by 0.01 degree or 0.02 degrees Celsius, it can have that much amount of difference across the Indian monsoon phenomena. So that is how the Indian monsoonal phenomena is truly unique, something that you don't experience anywhere else across the planet. Monsoon is what? Monsoon is derived from the Arabic term that is mausim, which tells about the seasonal reversal of winds. That is as simple. So, monsoon talks about the seasonal reversal of wind direction. Now, you will observe that this seasonal reversal of wind direction, in true sense, is observed only over India. It is not to be observed in true sense anywhere else. There is some reversal, partial reversal, etc., but in real sense, the true reversal will be observed only over the country. Now, here again, what we will do is we will try to use a kind of a different approach to understanding the monsoon. And in general, in the books that you study, monsoon is talked about with the aspect that rainfall happens. Then this rainfall, when it happens, this is also what we call as the onset. Then eventually rainfall stops, what we call as retreat. Here, what we are going to do is, first of all, we are going to understand all the various different factors, which influence the monsoon, all of them. We will understand them one by one. Then we will have the interconnection between all of them. We will be weaving a story around them, and we will form an entire dynamic mechanism around the behavior of the monsoon. Okay, so what I would suggest to you is, please follow this approach at least for the initial stages to clear your concepts. After that, you are free to explore the books of NCERT, GC Law, whichever book that Majid Hussain, whichever book that you want to follow, you are free to do so. But I would always suggest to you that follow the concepts here. Once you are able to understand the concepts, you will never forget those particular concepts.
দেখো দাও তো
Okay?
বাবাটা
Despite having higher volume, why warmer air on land has low pressure?
এটা
Because the weight imposed is not very
ইবের
high.
প্রিন্টারে প্রিন্ট করছি মাল
Okay,
তো নাই
weight
আজকে
imposed is not very high, and you
আমি
have
তো
the
প্ল্যানিং
rising
করছি 2-3
air
দিন
in
আগে
general. And the rising air is up till only the level of tropopause, right? So when you compare the pressure closer to the tropopause,
আমার প্রিন্টার
that is
ব্ল্যাক এন্ড
where
হোয়াইট
the
না
pressure difference is very apparent. Now, this is a region which is one of the favorite areas of UPSC. Earlier, UPSC would
খিটিমিটি করবে না
necessarily
কি
ask
করবে না
questions
করবে
from
আমি নিজের
monsoon
মতন করে
every
একেবারে
time in the mains or the prelims examination. And if you take a look at the papers around 20 years back, now there the pattern would be very different, where a candidate would be required to write very long answer, 600 word, 500 word answer, 300 word answer. So the mechanism of monsoon would necessarily be asked. But why is monsoon important for
আমি
us?
দিতে বলবো
Monsoon for us is not only about rainfall. For us in
যাবা
India,
দোকানে
monsoon is life.
তা আমি কি করব
Monsoon
তোমাকে
is
বসতে
something for which our farmers, they wait for eagerly. They depend on it eagerly. They pray for those monsoonal rains. In many different parts of the country that you go, you have their own individual cultural traditions which have been followed for hundreds of years or many decades altogether, where they have a separate kind of worship to pray for rain. Be it in Karnataka, be it in Tamil Nadu, be it in Kerala, be it in Assam, be it in parts of Rajasthan, they do pray for rain because it is important. In India, almost 2/3 of the rainfall that we receive, or in fact, even more than that. So close to around 70% of the rainfall, 70 to sometimes 80% of the rainfall that we receive in India is received during the monsoonal months. Now, if the monsoons they fail, we have large-scale crop losses. The farmers, their income is lost. Many of them, sadly, due to the economic crises,
পড়াশোনা
they
কি
have
সুন্দর
been
হচ্ছে
forced to commit
কনসেন্ট্রেশন দেখো
suicides
সেই
in the past
কনসেন্ট্রেশন হচ্ছে
decades, if you consider that. Many of them, they wait for these rains eagerly. But suddenly there is surplus amount of rain, creating floods, leading to the crop losses. We have seen the disasters unfold in Uttarakhand. We have seen the disasters unfold in Himachal Pradesh. That is monsoon for us. So while it can be provider for new ray of hope and life for us Indians, it is also something which can cause immense amount of disaster. The rainfall that you receive during the monsoon, that is something which keeps the entire nature happy through the year. The rainfall, it fills up various different areas with water. Drinking water is provided. Now, drier regions such as eastern part of Maharashtra, the Vidarbha region, the region of Telangana, they are completely dependent on monsoon itself. So monsoon means life. So that is what we'll take a look at this. Before that, we take a break, and after break, we carry on. Okay? So we take a break and we come back by 7, I think, and then we will carry on. Okay?